from the TFNB Your Bank for Life studio. Now, it's time for the Smoak Show. Presented by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. It's time for the Smoak Show on 365 Sports with David Craig and Craig Smoak.
Craig is not here today. He's having some dental work, and so I am flying solo, and of course, Rez and Garrett helping out today. I just lost my keys a minute ago. Yeah, there are certain frustrations that you have that it's not a frustration. It pisses me off that I'm that stupid to where I lose a set of keys. So then I always put my laptop bag with my laptop and all the stuff we have for a show. I'll sometimes take it over to the car. It's where I live in a condo. And then I'll have it in the back. So when I'm ready to leave, I just leave. I might have a Diet Coke like I have here, or I might have a Monster energy drink or whatever it might be. And I'd leave. And here we go. And so I went to leave. I was like, where are my keys? They were on top of where I get the mail, which is about 6 or 8 of those slots that we have in the 2 buildings where I am, the building 4. So I'm so mad at myself. Everyone that knows me knows that I hate wasting time. I cannot stand it. And I did. I just wasted time. So good afternoon, everybody. I hope you've had one hell of a day. We will have Brian Estridge, voice of TCU Horned Frogs. We'll have Greg Wrubell today at 5. He's the voice of BYU. And Trey Wallace, who's become a staple of what we do with all of his college football and more knowledge. He will join us today from Fox at 4 o'clock. We've got a question for you today that's going to test you about your loyalty to your college football team, to your college football team's most fierce rivals, and sex. What a tease that would be, right? Huh? We'll have that for you in just a moment. But here is one thing that, and I know that if you're an SEC fan, sometimes we say an SEC fan. We have Big 12 fans who watch this. I'd like to see the Big 12 do well. Of course I would. But at the same, and we cover the conference. I mean, look at the helmets that we have out here again today. Garrett put them up for me. Thank you. But I think now that I wonder sometimes, for example, Alabama and Auburn, they hate each other. I mean, BYU, Utah, not good. It's very bitter. And I'm sure that, I don't want to give away the question about, there's a lot of conference fanboys now, or fangirls. There's like a lot of that, what have I called it before, Rez and Garrett? Kind of like this tribalism. Since, I don't know, it's gone back maybe 20 years, and the SEC, of course, had every right to have all the spears and all the scalps and all that they did. But we kind of had a tribalism about, like, if you're an Auburn fan and Alabama wins, are you happy for the conference? I can't imagine that. So there's a question about that coming up, just like Texas OU or A&M in Texas, et cetera. So here's something that I saw, and I had to look at this about 3 different times. This is from Peter Burns, who has a Peter Burns ESPN. I've never talked to Peter. I know he has a very popular account. So after yesterday's college preseason top 25 came out, Peter Burns put out this note. 9 SEC schools play at least 5 of the top 25 teams in the coaches poll, and then put this out there. He could have just stopped, but he wanted to make a shot and take a shot because right now the SEC feels like they're getting, they're taking some blows. Not a single Big Ten team plays 5. Leave that up there, Rez, for just a second, if you don't mind. So had Peter Burns put up 9 SEC teams play at least 5 of the top 25 teams in the coaches poll, had he named all of the schools, had he named the schools and who they play and just left that, I'm good with it. But he couldn't resist. Not a single Big Ten team plays 5. Efficient work. Here's the next tweet from Tom Fornelli, who we've had on this show. He covers college football, and he responds to Peter Burns with, sigh. Michigan and Ohio State play 6 of the top 25. Minnesota, Nebraska, Northwestern, Purdue, which we could all agree is like in that midsection or worse. USC, Washington, they play 5 teams ranked in the top 25. Is 8 as many as 9? No, but it's a lot more than 0. Also, it's preseason coaches poll, for God's sake. So that's from Tom Fornelli. And then there's this one from Sean Callahan. I think it's going to be, which is the next one we have up, Rez? Put the whatever one you have up, just put it up. From Big Commish, covers the Big Ten. On this very graphic that you posted, this is on the same graphic that Peter Burns at ESPN put up about nobody from the Big Ten plays that many teams in the top 25. With that graphic up, he said that. He said what he said about the SEC is true, but then the Big Ten has none. How can you put that up there with any kind of, how can you say that? Ohio State 6, Michigan 6, and then, as I mentioned, Michigan, USC, Nebraska, Minnesota, Washington, and Purdue all have 5 games as of now to what is a preseason poll. So shooting bullets through that narrative that's a lie. How do you tweet that out? I think on Twitter, I have at times been fooled by a fake account. And either Craig will text me or I will have somebody else send me a direct message, or if they know me, they'll go, Smokey, that's a fake account. It's a fake account. I have been hit with that. Let's see. Who is it? Adam Rappaport. Ian Rappaport, who covers the NFL. I have been hit with his fake account. Not his account, but somebody who fakes him. A couple of different times. It's not usually just some random stat that, okay. It's usually something, and I am a dumbass, so I never really check it. So how do you tweet that out with a straight face? How do you, Rez, will you go back to, if you don't mind, Peter Burns' tweet? And I hate even like putting it up. 9 SEC teams play at least 5 of the top 25 team in the preseason. Didn't even say preseason in the coaches poll. Not a single Big Ten team plays 5. How can you put that up when Ohio State, Michigan, USC, Nebraska, Minnesota, and Washington all play 5? And guess what? They're not boasting that because let's go to the Damon Benning tweet, Rez, if you don't mind. Damon Benning, former running back, pretty good player at Nebraska. Now he does some stuff with Nebraska football, and we know that they have been hard to watch for quite some time. We're not really doing this again, are we? Top 25 preseason polls are pretty arbitrary, and they're based on perception, not reality. The top 25 preseason polls are based on no evidence, no results, no wins, no losses, nothing, because no one's played a game. Yet we use them as some measurable by week 3 just a year ago. How did this turn out? And guess what it was like a year ago? And we went up. We showed you this last year. Here's the AP top 25 from a year ago. Texas was ranked number 1. They still were really good, but they were out of the top 10. Penn State was 2. Their coach got fired. Ohio State 3. They were pretty good. Clemson 4. No. Georgia 5. Good. Notre Dame. Good. Oregon. Good. Alabama made the playoff. 8 was probably fair for them. LSU 9th, did not. They had a coaching change. Miami 10, very much underrated. They played for the national title. Arizona State, is that from Dillingham's reputation the year before? Probably fair to say. Levitt, et cetera, didn't work out. Illinois ended up being a pretty good team. South Carolina, no. I thought they were going to be good. Lenore Sellers, we even discussed that he might be in the Heisman chase. Michigan, no. Coach got fired. Well, for more than just the record. Florida, 15th. Coach got fired. So if you look at 2, 9, 13, 14, and 15, they all lost their coaches because of their season. SMU, they were good, but not 16th. Kansas State, they had a tough year. Oklahoma was better than 18th. A&M was much better than 19th, and Indiana was 20th. They won the damn thing at 16-0. Then you have Ole Miss at 21. They were really good. Iowa State, 22. Texas Tech, much better than what they were ranked in the preseason poll, 23. Tennessee didn't get ranked at the end of the year, and Boise State was good, but not really that good. So I just, I know that in our chat room, and welcome again to the Smoke Show 365 Sports. I have always, from day one, gotten in the chat room. I've always wanted to have back and forth, argue or cross-check, or have people give us their opinion, your opinion, about something that we're either doing you like or you don't like. There's super chats and things like that too. But I always have tried to get in there. I've just always liked that. But how do you get in there? How do you say that? How do you sit there and not look at what everybody else has, like by just looking at the Big Ten and how many teams are ranked, which I think is like 8 or whatever it is in the top 25? Don't get it. Don't understand it. There won't be any rebuttal. There won't be any like, hey, my bad. There won't be any of that. It's just the arrogance of just putting that up there without even checking. Like, how do you do that? How do you do that? And I was getting back to the chat room. I know that what I love about it is, yeah, there's fans that cover or that follow everybody in the Big 12. Don't get a lot from TCU. And yet I remember playing golf a year ago with my son-in-law and some young man. We're on like the 12th hole, and he goes, hey, what do you do? What profession are you a part of? And I told him I'm part of a YouTube podcast. He goes, damn it, I knew that. He's a TCU grad. But we don't have a lot of that, and I wish we'd have more. In fact, today we have a guest, Brian Estridge, who's the voice of TCU. I'm trying to think of the other fan bases, probably not much from Cincinnati. Occasionally there is. UCF a little bit. West Virginia, absolutely. Houston, yes. TCU, again, Texas Tech, yes. Baylor, yeah, a little bit. Utah, yes. Colorado, BYU, yes. Who am I missing? Arizona and Arizona State, a little bit. And I'm forgetting Kansas. KU fans, maybe a little bit. So it's not like everybody that's a fan of the Big 12 is watching just us. There's other shows too, other options. But I know that we have fans that also have their favorite team, ACC or the Big Ten or the SEC. And that's great. We want you to be a part of this. I had one of the viewers, in fact, kind of share something. He goes, if you notice that there's a few new people in the chat that are fans of teams outside the Big 12. Yes, I want more of that. I want those who have teams in the Pac-12 or a team in the Pac-12 or Southland. It doesn't matter to me. So, but I don't know how do you type that? How do you tweet that unless you're a troll? And that guy that has got a bunch of people that follow him, and how many of them were like sheep or cow? Just thought it was true. So I decided I was going to lead with that today. Now, here's a question for you. Before you put it up, Rez, I think I've probably have changed quite a bit. Back in the day when I was locked in, Nebraska was good or not. I mean, even if they're not very, I can have a better Saturday if they lose, which we know what's happened a lot in the last, 10 years or so, maybe more. I think like 2014 or so, they won like 9 games, but they have not been, we know the story. So I remember there were some college football Saturdays, especially when I was younger, when if Nebraska lost, and don't chuckle, but they didn't do that very often. Remember now, they went 30-something years with 9 or more wins. So you know that, even if you hated them or didn't like them or you were jealous of them or a rival of them, they didn't lose more than a couple of 3 games a year, if that much. But if they did, would my day as a college football fan be better if, for example, back in the Big 8 days, if Oklahoma lost? Yeah, a little bit. Because especially if it was a conference game, because the whole thing is you're trying to win the conference title. That meant as much as anything back in the day. And if you won the Big Eight, you're probably going to play in the Orange Bowl and Sugar Bowl and maybe play for a national title. So, yeah, if Nebraska lost and OU lost, I was good with that. Did it make my day? No, because I'm still angry because Nebraska lost, because I got spoiled with that. If you're an Auburn fan and you lose, but Alabama loses, does that soften the blow a little bit? I bet it does. Okay, let's go the other way. If you're a Texas fan and you win, but let's say OU or A&M lose, is that like a double hell yeah? If you are, for example, where should I go? A Florida State fan, and they win, and there was a time when they won as much as Nebraska did or more. If they win, but the Gators lose, if Florida State wins and the Gators lose, does that like make your day even like extra special, like whipped cream, cherries, syrup on top? I think it does. So here's the question. Kyle Umlang is a Texas guy. He control with the best of everybody. He is always crushing A&M when it comes to historical facts. Here is his tweet from today. I even put up the note that, hey, we're using this today. We are using this today. Yeah, sex is great and all, but have you ever had your college football team win a big game, not just a game that they're supposed to, but win a big game, and then watch both of your rivals lose miserably later the same day? So in other words, if it's both rivals, it might be, for example, you're an Alabama fan, Auburn and Tennessee lose. Or if you're an Ohio State fan and your team wins, obviously Michigan trumps everybody else. There's probably not a second one. So sex is great and all, but have you ever had your college football team win a big game and then watch both of your rivals, or let's just say your number one rival, lose that same weekend? I'm going to get on the chat. Again, I run a little bit late today. I'm going to get the chat going here in just a second with my laptop. So having said that, Jay Howard responded to Kyle Umlang. Jay Howard responded with this. For example, I know that, I don't know, is it Clarence Banks is a Texas fan? I know we've had others. I know that we know Paxton is unabashedly a Texas fan, and that's good. That's fine. And there's others. So then Jay Howard put this out there, and first thing I thought about was, okay, I know there's been very few times when in the day Nebraska would lose or win, they won all the time, but that OU would lose. OU didn't lose much more than none or one or two times in a year. Very rarely was it more than that. So Jay Howard, and I don't think I put this up, Rez, I don't think I did in base camp. No, I did not. Here's something, I want to check something real quick because I want to see if anybody can answer this question or has an answer for this on my timeline. From Jay Howard. Paxton, I hope you're not looking this up, or Clarence or Dennis or whoever, big UT fans. I'm going to go to the YouTube channel as it's loading up here. In fact, it's live, and here we go. I'm going to do that. Let me make sure my audio is down because I'm bad about doing this. And I'm going to see how many of you can tell me, and we're going to use Texas as the example, since we have a handful of UT fans. When was the last time that UT won? And when was the last time that UT won and both A&M and Oklahoma lost on the same day? When was the last time that Texas won and then both A&M and OU lost on the same day? It's hard for me to I can't imagine that. I got a feeling this will be cross-checked. Jay Howard put out November 7th of 2009. That's the year that Texas played Alabama, lost in the national championship game. Texas beat UCF. A&M lost to Colorado later that afternoon. And Oklahoma lost to Nebraska that night. So it doesn't happen a lot. But UT beating UCF, that's not a rival game. But how many times has that happened to you? And is that, in your opinion, what Kyle said, your favorite team wins a big game, not the UCF game, with all due respect at the time, wins a big game, and then your one or two biggest, most intense rivals lose later that day? Is that better than sex? Paxton, just laugh out loud. Kim Coulter, yes. I guess Clarence may be a K-State fan. I'm not sure. Spinnerbait, is Oklahoma and A&M Texas's top two rivals? Yes. They know about Georgia and Alabama and others. Yes. Those are their top two rivals. And in many ways, the Texas OU game, so much more bitter than the longtime rivalry with A&M, although those are their top 1 and 1A rivals, and they have a large lead in that rivalry against A&M, even though R.C. Slocum had a nice run, what was it, in the 80s or 90s, and they have a lead against Oklahoma. Again, those series date back to like dinosaurs. Let's see here. Spinnerbait. There's so much hate between Texas schools. I wasn't sure which one was. No, Spinnerbait, no. Texas's biggest rival, it depends on who you ask, but it's Oklahoma and it's A&M. And it just depends on who you ask and which one feels the same way. Wet Blanket. I was always a Nebraska fan during Thanksgiving week in the Big 8 and early Big 12 days because Wet Blanket is an Oklahoma State fan, and so he wanted to see OU lose, and that's one of the teams that could beat them. Especially, again, not a lot. Oklahoma has a pretty good hefty lead on Nebraska, too. Every game the Buckeyes lose is a great game from Stevie Heisman. Let's see here. Your pet cat again. By the way, your pet cat again. Good to hear you. We Tech fans have a saying. We are for Tech, and whoever is playing, he's Georgia Tech. Your pet cat again is a Georgia Tech, Yellow Jackets, Ramblin' Wreck-It Georgia Tech fan. We have a saying, we fans have a saying at Tech, we are Tech and whoever is playing Georgia. I've heard that a lot from a lot of different fan bases. Let's see here. Fatal Gator. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. Thank you, Rez. I tend to be happier when Georgia and Florida State lose. Bonus laughter when Auburn and Miami do too. He's a Florida fan. Bracket Cat, the first of last year's playoffs. Oh, wait, Texas was watching on TV. Alex Armstead. Hey, everyone else except for Stevie, who's an Ohio State fan. Let's see. Fatal Gator. General Ursus, the Tennessee fan. I don't consider the Vols a rival, so you're cool. I consider Spurrier and the Vols rivals. So there we are with some of you that, and I put that up and take that home. Well, maybe don't take that home. Take that to your tailgate party. Take that in a text exchange with your buddies who are all college football fans of your favorite school. Take that to like a sports bar and have that as a discussion if you want. Now, Paxton, by the way, answered to my question about, as a Texas fan, if they win and then Oklahoma and A&M both lose, yeah, hell yes. Firefighter, any day is better if Oklahoma loses. So there we are. Many of you in the chat room, thank you very much for your feedback, and thank you as well for being a part of this show. All right, let's go to the Save, Protect College Sports Act. Yep. They went to Culture. John Thune, who is the Senate leader, put it up to Culture. This takes time. This is from Ross Dellinger. This is the first of several steps in beginning the process for a full vote on the act that could drag on several days. Oh boy, that's never happened. And into the weekend. So that, at least that has now, the cloture has been, that's the process. Now you go from there. One other note on that as well from the NCAA. You've heard of ghost transfers. That means if a player, no matter what sport it is, enters or does not enter the portal and then signs with your team, the latest memo from the NCAA, and boy, have they put out a lot of statements and memos, in part states that any team who rosters a ghost transfer, a student athlete who never entered the portal during the allotted portal window in April, will have their head coach suspended for 50% of the season. So we have the Lane Kiffin rule if this thing passes, right? And now you have this one. If any team who rosters, in other words, any player that's on a roster, as a ghost transfer, a student athlete who never entered the portal during the allotted April window will have their head coach suspended for 50% of the season. And you wonder, why did it take so long? Well, again, the portal's only been in effect, for a handful of years. You could transfer to another team and play immediately if you were a grad assistant, but if you transferred it any other way, you had to sit out a year. You had to sit out a year. Back to what I mentioned about the SEC had how many, 5 or 6, 8 teams that were going to play, 9 teams were going to play 5 or 6 top 25 preseason college football poll teams. Let's see. General Ursus, South Carolina is overrated. Preseason anything, well, you can fill in the blank, but you can't use that language on this show. Bracket cat with that one. Stevie Heisman, Michigan finished where they started. Illinois went from being in the top 10 to bombing out. Do you see Craig's not here today. Does anyone see old Tech Man yet? Is he stalking the show? Wow, that's weird last night. That was a crazy way to finish the show. That was crazy. So Craig and I were walking out of the studio, and he asked me this question. He said, I don't know really whether you even get into that tomorrow, because, he doesn't like, the last thing he wants is attention. He says what he says, and whether you like it or not, it's not being like an asshole about it. He just kind of says what he says. He asked me this. He said, I never really heard, and those of you in the chat, and some of you texted me personally, what the? He asked this question. What was it that Craig said about Brendan Sorsby that apparently old Texas Tech man lost his mind? What was it? I don't remember. I don't know. So if you do, put it in the chat. We'd like to hear from you on that as well. But we've had a history with old Texas Tech men, whatever, on getting emotionally overcharged over some things that really don't matter. And in some cases, almost every time, and some of you who know him, you can tell me if I'm wrong here, that he has gotten overmodulated, and most of it is like everybody's out to get Texas Tech. Now, hey, there's some teams out there to do that. There's some others, that columnists, analysts, me, but that everybody's out to get them. They're jealous. And there's some of that too, but every time he loses his mind or says something like he did yesterday in the chat that was just not very smart, it's because he felt like Texas Tech was getting criticized. Listen, we've got a lot of Tech fans in here. And I will say this, you want the attention and you want to be really good. You know what comes with that? People don't like you. Whether it's because they think what you're doing in the portal or what you're doing with this, with NIL or whatever. People don't like people who win. Why do you think people for so long hated Notre Dame? Up until what's now been 37, 8 years since they won a national title in 88? Why do you think most of the time people hated Notre Dame? I don't know if any of it was ever a religious thing, because maybe you don't like Catholics. That never was it. You hated them because they won a lot. They also were on TV a lot. We can name about 6 to 9 programs that win a lot, and they're on TV a lot because everybody's on TV now, where you can hate them. You could also hate somebody because they're your rival. You could also hate somebody because of whatever reason. You don't like their colors or what state where are they from? So I don't understand yesterday with old Texas Tech Fart Man or whatever his name was. And I said this before, and I've said this I did talk radio for years. And I'd get about once or twice a week, somebody would call up and, hey, this is Frank. Thank you for your time on KTBB radio. And you know what? Why do you hate the Cowboys? You every day you get on here and you rag on the Cowboys. You hate the Cowboys. Why do you hate? Well, first of all, I was a Redskins fan, so there's an easy answer. Yeah, I hated them. And then you also, during that time when I was getting those calls, sometimes it was I'd spent thousands of dollars of our budget and time at Cowboys training camp, going to Valley Ranch at the time. That's where their headquarters was located, covering game after game. And then I'd go back on the radio. Let's say they were really, really good, which they were, of course, for a pretty long time. And then, or maybe they were 5-11 under Campo, 3 consecutive years. And I'd go on the air, and and then all of a sudden, Frank in Tyler, you know what? I don't like your show. Okay? You're always hateful. You hate the Cowboys. I'm a Redskins fan. And you just never say anything good about them. And yet I had just spent the day before on a Sunday, 8 hours driving up to Texas Stadium, covering a game, getting post-game, and driving back and having some Cowboys as weekly segments on our show. I hate the Cowboys. And so finally I got to this point. I said, Frank, are you a masochist? And he's like, what does that mean? I go, do you know the definition of what is a masochist? Are you a masochist? And or insanity, the definition of insanity. I'm not the smartest encyclopedia or Britannica or Webster's or thesaurus in the world. Insanity is the definition of doing the same thing over and over again with the same result. So I would ask him, are you a masochist? And he goes, to me, why, if you hate the show, I'm talking about old Texas Tech man, and now I don't even know if I have his name right. Why, if you hate the show, you don't think we cover your football team well at all, which you're full of crap because we just had your quarterback on. Joey's been on a bunch. We've had Sheil Wood on. We've had other players on. But why do you watch it if you don't like it? That would be like me watching a show or a movie that I don't like and then watching it again or replaying it again on Netflix. Why would I do that if I didn't like it? So I got a feeling that old Texas Tech man, and I've given you way too much time, and that's fine. I just don't understand that. I've never understood that. Let me tell you something. There's also an argument that I don't understand college football fans. They go right down the rabbit hole in this one. Their team's on TV, and they're not playing well or they're losing, and it's the announcers who hate your team. Every single one of you, you've done that before. Every one of you has done that. Kirk Herbstreit hates us, or Chris Fowler hates us, or Tim Brando hates us. Turn the damn thing not off, but turn the sound down. And I now can tell you right now, I'll lose a body part because I've almost lost a few already. Any announcer, I don't know any announcer in the 45 years that I've done this. They might have their favorite team, or they might be from a certain part of the country or whatever. I don't know of anybody that's ever been in broadcasting that wakes up one morning and says, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to hate Colorado on this broadcast. They won't be around very long. There was Pat Summerall and Tom Brokaw. For you older people, my age or a little bit older, that were a part of what was then CBS, the network that carried a lot of the NFL. And there's to the point where they did almost every Cowboys game. They were good, Landry, etc. Or even when Jimmy Johnson started, but that they were accused of being Cowboys homers. Well, I think Pat Summerall was at Valley Ranch a lot. He lived right around the corner. Tom Brokaw played for what, Philadelphia? So this whole thing is about, why would you watch a show, this one or anyone, when you hate the content, you hate the people who are co-hosting or hosting, and you don't think that they're fair to your favorite team? That to me is the definition of a masochist. I've never understood that. I really never have. So there I am with that. Old Texas Tech man. Thank you for joining the show. And I mean that. I've had some, Wet Blanket and I one time we were going to meet at the border of Texas and Oklahoma and be back to back, take 10 steps, and one of us is going to get shot, die. So I can get through anything with anybody, no matter what you've ever said about me. I can. There's maybe a couple just because of a personal thing that just I can't get over. Or maybe they can't. Old Texas Tech man. Y'all not showing and giving. Here we go again. Not much different than yesterday, but here you are. Y'all not showing and giving Coach McGuire any respect, putting Coach McGuire as the fourth best coach in the Big 12. Coach McGuire is in the top two coaches in the Big 12. Fritz is not in the top three. Old Texas Tech man, I swear to God, I hope you can email me. I think you have. Your name is Randy. What in the are you talking about? What poll are you talking about? It's not even our poll. We don't have a coach's poll. Craig might do those shorts, whatever you call them, the smokestack, and have opinions about Iowa State or Kansas State or whatever. And he might have his preseason poll. You know what? At least he puts it out there, lays it right there on the line, and you can cut it off if you want to. Y'all. Who is y'all? Who is y'all? Is that this show? Is that Craig and me? Craig's out today. Is that the chat room? Is that media around the country? Who is y'all? Because I don't understand who y'all is. But there you are again. Complaining. You said this again about Joey McGuire. We don't give him enough credit. Hold on. I know we're live. Hold on. I know. I think me losing my keys has made me go into la la land. This is a Texas Tech helmet. It's a damn good one too. This is the one. It's heavy. This is what it's probably changed a little bit. Do you know who sent us this helmet? What's your name again? Randy? Do you know who sent us this helmet to this show, to this channel? Can you read that? And you are the best. Wreck 'em, Coach McGuire. But because we may not rank Joey McGuire or whoever doesn't rank him among the top two coaches in the Big 12, and not a lot of people do, because even when he's had success, they're going to, yeah, but. Okay, well, that's when you're jealous and you say, yeah, but. Is it Kalani Sitake? Is it Kenny Dillingham? What did he do last year? Is it Sonny Dykes? Took a team to a national championship. Yeah, they got blasted, but it's pretty good. For a while, I thought maybe it was even Chris Klieman. Didn't work out. Is it Willie Fritz? Aranda in 21 was 12-2, best record they've ever had in the history of Baylor football. Maybe he got overmodulated. Not him. He would never, but he was ranked at, man, he's a genius, a Jedi. Is the best coach someone else? Why do you get so upset about that? But we do such a crappy job that Will Hammond was on the show yesterday for 20 minutes. We have Joey signing this helmet, And guess what? We're not done with our coverage of any of the teams in the Big 12, including Texas Tech. So, Old Texas, I don't understand what in the hell you do to wake up, if you're taking what you need to take, or you just are masochist. When we come back, Brian Estridge, voice of TCU football and men's basketball. Hope you enjoyed. I think I went over. Tell me in the chat, did I go over the cliff today? Did I lose it myself? Because it's been kind of like I needed to say some of that. Plus the old thing about whether is, for example, if you're a Texas fan and you win, and let's say you beat Alabama, Georgia. Well, you haven't beaten them yet, but let's say you do. Or let's say in a couple of weeks, or they beat Ohio State, and then they see Oklahoma lose to Michigan and A&M lose to whoever. Is that better than sex? Super chats are appreciated, so we thank you for that. This is 365 Sports. Petty Clinic, lowt.com. Maybe my T level's too high and I'm overmodulated. Dr. Kent Petty can help you out. You know how? As you get into your upper 30s, 1 out of every 3 to 4 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone. Maybe that's you. Your sex drive is not the same. Or you can't have, something's not working. You're not sleeping the same. You got a little belly fat and you're somewhat active and there's no reason for it. And or you're lethargic and you're just constantly trudging through every day. Some of that could be other reasons, but testosterone level dropping can be that reason too. 1 out of every 3 to 4 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone. If that is you, or maybe it's you, contact Dr. Kent Petty, pettycliniclot.com. Tell him I sent you. Tell him your story. He will put you and get you in touch and take care of your appointment to get your blood work, get the results, and then get back with you. Maybe everything's fine. Your T level is great. Maybe it's down a notch or 5. He can put you in a program to help you get back to who you used to be at pettycliniclot.com.
Broker is your Lennox Premier dealer. Right now, qualified buyers can make no payments and get no interest financing for 12 months on a new Lennox home comfort system. Conditions apply. Call Ray Broker Air Conditioning and Heating Specialists for details and a free estimate.
Make this the summer event at Allen Samuels in Waco. Drive a 2026 Ram 1500 Limited Crew Cab with your choice. 0% for 36 months or 25% off MSRP. See why it was named to Car and Driver's Best 10 Trucks and SUVs list. And it comes with America's Best Truck Powertrain Warranty. 10 years, 100,000 miles.
Come by, let's be friends.
Bold are the adventurous. Determined are the leaders. Faithful are the healers. At Baylor, you'll find your calling, your people, and your purpose. Dare to be you, indeed.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
This 3 o'clock hour is brought to you by QC Kinetics. Feel better, move better, live better with regenerative medicine using your body's own healing abilities for natural pain relief. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. With locations in Dallas and Houston at QCkinetics.com. It's time for the Smoke Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoak and David Craig.
Brian Estridge, voice of TCU Athletics. And quite the day for Brian. We're here to discuss TCU, Sonny Dykes, the Frogs. But what a day for you. You're moving your daughter into college. Is this year 1, 3, what?
This is year 3. I'm in a full sweat, and I'm in a full – and I didn't realize that you could sweat supervising others. But I am. I mean, these guys are working their tail off, and it's making me sweat. It's crazy, David. No, you know what? I've been out at practice most every day, and I feel like I'm used to the heat. I don't know that I could go a full 4 quarters, but I think I'm gaining on it. So
yeah,
let's get after it.
It's slow steps. You just got to chip away.
Exactly.
You got to show some resiliency, but that's an emotional thing. I know any parent that's been through that. So TCU did get an earlier start than most, who started in a lot of ways today because of their game overseas. I'm kind of, hey, how good are they? What are, Brian, the legitimate expectations of what would be the minimum, I guess, finish, and then what really might happen?
I think, and you know me, David, we've talked about this before. I try not to sugarcoat it. I try to be honest, try to look at it, see what it looks like, and then compare the schedule, and kind of give you a, best case scenarios. I'm assuming that everybody stays healthy and that sort of thing. All right, everybody gets off the bus. And if everybody gets off the bus, this is an 8 to 10 win team. Okay. That's if everybody gets off the bus. I think this is a team that thinks that they will compete for a Big 12 championship. I think that late into the season that they will be in the conversation. I think there's some real strengths with this group. I think the running back room is as good as it's been. It's as talented as it's been with some terrific young freshmen. I think the offensive line is deeper than it's been. They're more athletic. It's kind of, it's kind of all Sonny's kind of guys now along the offensive line. I think the addition of Gordy Samus as the offensive coordinator is going to make a big difference because they're going to run the football. The tight ends are going to be involved. They've got 4 tight ends. But then you're going to say, well, Brian, you got to tell me some weaknesses, and I can do that. I don't know if they're deep enough at receiver. Again, that's counting on everybody getting off the bus. Linebacker still scares me a little bit. You lost a couple of pretty good players to NFL camps that you got to replace there. And I don't know how deep they are. If I look at the couple of guys running with the 2s and 3s right now, I go, I don't know, and you lose a couple of guys at safety that were big time players. So there's some concerns there. But you know what? Everybody's got concerns, and the way you fill holes this day and age with the portal and other ways, you hope that you can just kind of semi-reload. But I mean, let's not forget that this was a team that won 9 games last year. Nobody was talking about.
Yep.
And so I think that's I think that's okay. And really nobody's talking about them this year. When I saw a top 25 the other day, and I never know if any of them are real anymore.
Yeah, I know.
But somebody posted a top 25 that had Oklahoma State in the top 25, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me, man! Come on. Ahead of TCU, and I'm not saying that as a TCU homer. I'm just saying, look at the roster.
When we had Sonny on, Brian, at Big 12 Media Days, and he is so transparent. I mean, we got into a lot of things outside of, of course, what's going on in college football today.
Did he give you, David, did he give you his margarita recipe?
No, he did not. No, give it to him.
Oh, the next time you have him on, you've got to get it, man. Yeah. It leans orange as opposed to lime. Okay.
Okay.
I'm just giving you a heads up there. That's your scouting report. Okay?
All right. I will go find and look at film, and next time I can hit them with. So, but he feels good about the transfer from Harvard. He likes his experience. Hayden Craig. So, with Hoover now gone, he's at Indiana, and Sonny. He was talking about many things that the Big 12 needs to do, what college football needs to do. And you're right, they had 9 wins. Arizona had 9 wins. Every year there's a team in the Big 12 that we think might be bowl team, but ends up being better. Cincinnati's been through that. We've seen Baylor's been through that 21 team that was crazy good. Your thoughts about TCU and under Sonny Dykes and what he actually has brought to the program. They had that great run, obviously, to the championship game.
Sure. I think the thing that he has brought to it is one is he takes care of his student athletes and he puts them first. When it comes to preparation, that's one thing, but then the recovery that they emphasize, the nutrition that they emphasize, the rest that they emphasize. I've never seen anything like it, man. I mean, David, they prioritize that. These guys are not running Oklahoma drill for 4 hours in the middle of the day.
Right.
They're just not doing it. And yet it's not a soft football team. It's still a physical football team that gives their bodies up and plays with a little bit of a chip. So I think that's the one thing that's been really, really refreshing. The other thing is, this, I mean, in talking to Sonny is he's a very eclectic guy. You can talk to him about anything. And he's got great ideas and opinions on how we save the sport. He is a historian of the game. He loves the game. He knows that it's kind of screwed up right now, and he knows that it can't continue. And so he wants to do everything that he can to kind of preserve and protect it. Now, does that mean he doesn't have to play the game that's going on right now? No, I mean, if you're going to be competitive, you got to play the game. You've talked to Cody Campbell multiple times. Mm-hmm. Cody has real problems with the way things are set up right now, but he's playing the game because you've got to.
Absolutely.
In order just to maintain at this point. So I think I think that this is a program that probably is not getting enough respect. And I'm talking locally. I'm not talking about on the national level. I'm talking about locally. Probably is not getting enough respect under Sonny as it deserves. I mean, listen, it's hard to replace the winningest coach in a school's history. Sure. It's really, really hard to do that. He has done that as well as anyone. Now, obviously, the first year kind of set the tone. And you've heard him tell this story that Mac Brown called him about 7 or 8 weeks in and said, "Hey, dude, you need to lose a game." You're setting a bad precedent here, bro. And so how do you follow up that season? That's what's really hard. But I think what you see is a consistent team that is still a developmental program as well. High school recruiting is still important to this team and this program, and to Sonny in particular.
So that last year, Hoover, we know about the yards he put up, the touchdowns, and then there's that back and forth about interceptions, and he threw a lot of them. So they couldn't run the ball. They just didn't seem they averaged. They just. I know I just hit the lottery, but the things about the teams that were good, not just the one that went to the championship game, but TCU could gash you, run the football. And they couldn't do that last year. So what is Sam's hope to be able to accomplish with that this year?
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing. I mean, he comes from a run background. He's an offensive lineman, man. He's an offensive line coach at heart. His UConn team ran the football. They don't turn the ball over. They take care. What did they have last year? 2 turnovers, I think. Yep. They had 31 scores and 2 turnovers, something like that. I mean, they just did not turn it over. And so I think that's what you're going to see. I mean, I think you're going to see a team that just tries to put the ball in the right place. And that's why they're not going to ask Jaden Craig to throw this thing 50 times. They're not going to ask him to throw for 450 yards a game. That old line that when you throw the football, 3 things happen to him are bad. I think they realize that, and so I think you're going to see an attack that's. I'm not going to use the word conservative because I think you can be very aggressive in the run game, and I think they will be. I think you'll see a lot of. They were in 13 personnel a lot the other day, 3 tight ends out there. So I think you're going to see some of that. And so, but if you've got guys, at that position, which they're 4 deep right now, they really like a tight end. They can also stretch the line of scrimmage. It makes it much difficult for the defense to sort of tee off on the quarterback. So I think there's a lot of advantages to the personnel they have and the system that's going to fit it. And I think you're going to see a team that's probably all said and done. I bet it's going to be 57-43 run to pass.
Okay, well that's like Texas Tech. Everyone can talk about Sorsby's not there, but I think Will Hammond is fantastic. But my God, the running backs that they have,
Exactly.
Oh Lord,
Yeah.
they may.
And the offensive line they signed.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
come on.
They may lean on people, and that might. Hammond's good, but he has a safety valve there. Not a safety valve. That's going to be probably their bread and butter, with also the defense. So Dykes is an offensive-minded guy.
Yes.
He himself has been a coordinator. He's done all of that. He's called plays, but he's been through some coordinators. Bryle's gone, and now I mentioned, obviously, with the arrival of Gordon Samus, he's been through it. Is it hard to please him as a play caller or coordinator on the offensive side of the ball?
No, because he was really happy with Garrett Riley. He didn't want to lose him,
right,
and then Garrett went. Yeah, because and the thing that he loved that Garrett brought to the table was in the short throw game that he would call it, essentially, extended handoffs.
Right.
He loved what he did with that in the screen game and the short throw game, and I think you're going to see us kind of get back to that at TCU a little bit. But yeah, I would. Yeah, I think it's like anything. It's like being the defensive coordinator for David Randall, although he doesn't have one. But I'm just saying, it's like, those are hard positions to fill. And so, but I do think that he is, the thing that I like about Sonny is that he's willing to adjust. I mean, you think about it. He's an air raid guy at heart. All right. That's what he was raised on. That's what he cut his teeth on. He ain't going to be an air raid team this year. That's not what Gordy does. I mean, he's not going to be an air raid team. So he's willing to look at his personnel, to look at what defenses are doing now, which, many of those defenses became built to try to stop the air raid. So many people were doing it that, okay, we got to adjust. We got to do something different. And I think that's, to be able to kind of self-reflect like that. One of the things that he, looked at last year was at the end of the season was he focused on turnovers and he focused on running the football. And those were the two things that and he said we had to get better at that. And the air raid doesn't necessarily lend itself to either one of those. So I think that's why he said, hey, we got to get better. So how do we do that? Well, we adjust what we do offensively.
So they have that early game. It's August 29th, but it is an early game compared to the week after that when most everybody gets going. We've seen teams win or lose that game and fall apart. Sonny told us he had done a ton of homework on the travel. When do you get there? What do you do afterwards? It just seemed like we saw what happened to Kansas State. We saw what happened to Florida State. We saw what happened to Nebraska. Right. And so that's an early game. Anything different about how they're going about business now, or is it still too early to even think about that?
I think it's too early, but it's not as if they're going out a week before. Okay, they're not going to do that. They're going, they're going to fly out on Wednesday, get there on Thursday, do a little practice on Thursday, a little walkthrough on Friday, play the game on Saturday, come home. The debate was, do you take the next week off or do you wait a week? And there are some that believe you wait a week. Now, TCU didn't do that. They elected to take the next week off because they ran the numbers. They looked at it. They felt like that was the best time to do it. But that was the real debate, was when do you take the week off? And so I think it's going to be. I'm anxious to see the response after the game. Did you do the right thing taking the next week off immediately, or does it catch up with you a little bit later on? So, but I think that they're adjusting some practice times to try to fit when that game's going to be, things of that nature. So, but in the end, it's just going to come down to making plays. That it doesn't matter where you play. You can play in the park. You can play in a parking lot, and the Walmart and Longview, and it doesn't matter.
So the last thing, Brian, thank you very much, and have fun. The emotions of today, moving your daughter back into college. BYU, Texas Tech, Arizona, and also Utah. 4 teams.
Murderers Row.
Well, you got
Murderers Row.
You got all 4. You got the ones that were at the top of the list last year.
The ones that matter.
Yeah. So there's a chance to also beat those who might be competing with you. So it's really it's a hell of a schedule. And
you know what I joke about, David, is once TCU got in the Big 12, we needed bumper stickers that said there ain't no New Mexico's on the schedule anymore.
Yeah.
Although, which you always could start the year 1-0 in the Mountain West.
Yeah.
Those don't exist anymore.
Can you even name who's in the Mountain West right now?
I can, only because I got a kid at Air Force.
Oh, okay. That helps.
Yeah, that's the only reason why. But so you do want me in bar trivia for that?
Yeah, I do. The other day we were talking. The Mountain West and Pac-12 is settled.
Right.
their cat fight. And then I was like, I asked Craig, can you? And he goes, yeah, they're all the state schools. He just started listing them off like it was in the Pac-12. I mean, all the state schools. He started listing them off like, I mean, I used to do that. But
now,
then,
hey,
yeah.
But did Craig have UC Davis in there for baseball and basketball?
No,
See,
he did
there
not.
You go.
He failed.
Yeah, let's call him out.
Brian, enjoy the trip. Hope to see you very soon. Good luck with the game and the trip to Ireland. Thanks for your time, Brian. Brian Estridge.
Okay, brother.
On 365 Sports. We appreciate Brian. He is moving his daughter into college. I think it's year 3 of that. That's always an emotional. First time when you leave your daughter, your son, you're like, oh, okay. But when it's a daughter, it's like, man, that's interesting. That's it. Jennifer was it. Oh, by the way, Old Texas Tech. She went to Tech, your school that you think that we don't like. We're now joined by become a hell of a good friend and a great reporter in Trey Wallace from Fox, the senior college football writer. Trey, I know that. Do you have people? I'm just curious. I've been kind of in a weird mood today. Do you have people that read your stuff, watch your stuff, listen to your stuff, and then say they don't like you, and then they keep doing it? And I call them like fan masochism.
Yeah, so I do get that. I get a lot of emails with opinions from folks, which is great. I love opinions. Some of them are not, I can't put them online. There's a lot of language in there. So that one's always fun when those come down. But I mean, well, then, they'll blow up my DMs and I hate your writing. Oh, you're so wrong on this. But then I get like a follow and I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense. Okay. All right. And then sometimes it comes like if we're just being full transparent with each other, sometimes it might comes if my cousin does well on a Sunday afternoon at a NASCAR race. So that's always fun having that last name, but I really don't care about the trolls. So yeah, it's all around, buddy.
So you grew up as a gearhead?
Yeah, I did. I grew up watching it from a young age. I mean, I remember sitting there with my grandfather down on Dolphin Island and watching the Daytona 500. And then my cousin got into it at a very young age, started in the go-karts, made his way up through Legends, ran the K&N series, then signed with Joe Gibbs. And then obviously the story, now is he is one of the drivers for 2311 and Michael Jordan, Denny Hamlin. So it's always fun getting to either go out to a race to see him in person or just watching on television and listening to him and his spotter for about 4 hours as I probably catch about an hour nap in between there.
Joe Gibbs, golly. I mean, the guy does nothing but win. What he did to change, and of course, 3 different quarterbacks to win 3 Super Bowls. Yeah. He was one of the few people, Trey, and I'll ask you this. Joe Gibbs is one of anybody that I've ever had a chance to interview. And of course, I'm 67, but where I was a little not intimidated because he's an unbelievable guy, but for some reason I a little bit hyperventilated. And I've had Jim Brown walk up to me at Radio Row, who's like Jim Brown, and didn't bother me a bit. Montana, but Joe Gibbs got me a little bit. Have you had that happen to you?
I've had it from like an interview standpoint, like starting in my career, like getting around Saban, or whatnot. Like when he was around LSU, like it was just a different aura. I will say, like a moment where I was like, "Is this actually happening?" type of deal. Was it was at a race, NASCAR race, and obviously Bubba's boss is Michael Jordan.
Sure,
and Michael Jordan was sitting on the pit box next to me, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's Michael Jordan right there. Like that, I'm sitting next to Michael Jordan as we're watching a NASCAR race. So like I had that moment. I was like, all right, this is awesome. I'm not asking for an autograph or anything like that. Come to find out, very chill, down to earth guy, very intense, but down to earth guy, just enjoys racing. So I would probably say Nick Saban was the weirdest one at first, and then kind of that aha moment. I didn't really interview him, though what we talked would be Michael Jordan. Definitely.
All right, the Protect College Sports Act. My God, it looked like it was about to die. It's been on its last breath many different times, and here they have now gone to Coucher. Coucher? I get that wrong.
Cloture, Coucher, it doesn't matter. It's going to get in.
Yeah, that's why I'm not in the political game. Cloture, at least that's now been put in motion. So I thought last week was the last part and that Congress was headed off on a vacation, but now it's this weekend. So what does that mean, Trey?
Yeah, essentially, this thing is now in the process of being voted on. Best way to put it. You have to file for cloture to be able to then vote on the actual bill through the Senate. And look, there are multiple different ways this thing can go sideways. You know, if there is a senator who is not in favor of this, let's just say Tommy Tuberville, for instance, or whatnot.
Right.
If he wants to put up a fight this week before a vote, he can, and it can prolong it. And, you know, does it actually get voted on like that? That is the question right now. And talking with multiple people in the industry about this and folks at Capitol Hill is like, the process has been started to vote on this, but will we get to that point? And so I think that is a little bit up in the air as we sit here on a Wednesday. Congress is supposed to take a recess, a month-long break. I hate calling it recess. Starting Friday afternoonish, usually is when senators are hitting up the airport and getting out of town. Do they extend that? Do they stay until Saturday? And by the way, not just for college athletics. There are darn more important things going on in our country than college athletics. But if there are enough different items, you know, that need to be discussed and maybe they need to extend it for a day, they could. And so do they stay around till Saturday and maybe this one gets squeaked in along with others?
Yeah, it's if you're not a part of, or never have been, I guess, a part of the political game, you just, you know, there's a lot of these like pro leagues or strikes. It could be a union strike, whatever, labor strike. But they always say there's a deadline, and there's really never a deadline until there absolutely has to be something that's done, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's where we were at. If you remember last Friday, Senate leaders, the ones that are pushing this, Ted Cruz, Maria Cantwell, bipartisan bill, who I thought, be honest with you, they've done a good job, like kind of getting it through to a point where the Big Ten and the SEC, along with the ACC and the Big 12, were comfortable with this. But they essentially threw out two deadlines, and both conferences are like, well, we're not going to be able to meet those deadlines. Like, this thing has to go through lawyers. You know, this is why our lawyers are getting paid double time right now to go through this. Like, we have to vote on this. Like, and so you got to a point where last Friday night, I think it was 8:15, 8:30, I started getting blown up text messages saying, hey, look, both of them are voting to approve this thing. And so, like, you got to that point and you had the conference of support. Here's where they were a tad bit agitated Monday and Tuesday and I'm talking about the conferences here. They were like, well, wait a minute. You pushed us to get the support so you could file for cloture and then you could do the vote. And then we got all the way here to Wednesday and it was still kind of hanging around. It hadn't been done yet. So like that, and then the final language of the bill, like, so there, obviously this is politics. I don't cover politics all the time. I'm getting used to it over the last 2, 3, 4 years. But I do think at the same time, they got to a point where this is at least passable, in my opinion. There are problems with this, man, but at least passable.
How much of the bill that was initially presented has been shredded? And how much has been, I know they've added some things to help get more votes, whatever. That's part of politics. I get that. But how much of it actually is what it was supposed to be in the first place?
Oh, man, if I put a percentage on it, I'd probably say 30% of the bill is there's probably 30% changes is what I'm getting at.
Right.
To the legislation. The one that there's a couple that I think can kind of get moved around a little bit and kind of maybe changed in the House, like the Lane Kiffin rule.
Yeah.
Okay. So a school or a coach, let's just say the coach is not allowed to leave another institution mid-season. So I guess everyone knows why. It's the Lane Kiffin rule. But he left at the end of the regular season and didn't participate in the postseason. But one thing that stood out to me in talking to conference officials from across the country is, well, what if a school makes that decision, like we saw plenty of times last year? James Franklin, Brian Kelly, just to name two right off the bat. Brent Pry, like I could go down the list here. And what if the school makes a decision and wants to start the process of figuring out who their coach is going to be before the transfer portal opens? Because also, by the way, like with all this movement and schools not being able to technically hire a coach, by the way, folks out there, schools can just have verbal agreements with these guys and then they can like sign the official paperwork right after the end of the regular season ends. But a lot of these schools want to have this in place and they want to do it from a fundraising aspect, season tickets, donations, transfer portal, NIL money. Like, so I think that part kind of gets switched around a little bit because it would be very easy, in my personal opinion here, for a coach that wants to go take another job officially, say, wait a minute, the government's not allowing me to go take this other job at a private institution. How would that be possible? So that would end up in a lawsuit. So I'm just kind of throwing examples out there for you. I do think the other one that is going to be highly contested over the next few months is the fact that, and we previously spoke about this, if a school, we're going to throw out a random school here, okay? So let's just say Clemson decides they want to leave the ACC and maybe take the SEC up on an offer to join.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They would have to sit out 5 years as an independent. And when I say sit out, meaning not getting conference revenue, you're going to take a hit from a television standpoint. You have to be an independent school for 5 years before you can go join that other conference. That to me, like I'm not a legal expert, but that's some antitrust problems written all over it. You're telling a school what you cannot and can't do when it comes to revenue. Like, so I think there would be loopholes around that one. And I also think that conferences that want to expand, they're not going to sit around and want to wait 5 years. Like that'd be a long countdown, you know? So the ACC and the Big 12 were behind this, meaning they were, their support,
right?
Because they are essentially looking at it like, okay, we don't want to get raided here. So what is something that could be put in this bill to potentially keep those other big conferences away, or at least second guess their decision to go after a school like Florida State, Clemson, Miami, North Carolina, you name it, Texas Tech. So that part to me will also be a little bit contested.
I don't even know, honestly, other than Notre Dame, and I know other teams have been independent. Hell, Florida State was for a while, BYU, Arizona State. There's been teams that have been independent.
Right.
But I don't know how many in today's America, as far as college athletics, could actually afford to be independent. Yeah. I know Texas, Ohio State, but I think even then there would be an issue with revenue that they would lose.
Yeah, you're taking a hit on television revenue. You're obviously taking a hit out on conference revenue and what you get from the playoffs. Let's just say postseason, your yearly checks. I mean, these conference schools are cashing $100 million checks now. So you're losing out on that part. And then I also think it's the waiting game. Like, and I'm kind of just talking here. I'm not going against the bill here, but if you want to say that a school is independent, so are you going to make that school go out and form their own schedule and operate as an independent? So a Florida State can't play schools out of the ACC conference. They have to go out and create their own schedule. Like, so that part is very complicated in this. I understand why it's added, but I think lawyers would be able to eat through that, or at least take up a large amount of money when it comes to that whole process.
Yeah. The HBCUs are getting propped up a little bit, which I love the history of what was for a long time with the great players that ended up in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. So that they added that. Did they add that to get some extra votes?
Yeah, and essentially too, to help them out from a financial standpoint from television. Like, and I respect that and I get that. Like I grew up, watching Grambling. So like you you get to know these schools. You know, I'm at like Jackson State, and I'm not talking about Jackson State when Dion was there. Like
Right.
I know Jackson State, like so, and I could go on and on. Alabama State, I'm from there. That state. Like I know the Jacket. So I'm just saying, like, I think that when you add in that part, you're trying to please other people as well, and I think it was the smart thing to do. And so where does that lead to, though, in the next 5, 6, 7, 10 years? That's to be left determined, but I do think that gives them an avenue when it comes to maybe finding additional television revenue.
All right. So my question for you is: it practices? I mean, there's just a handful of teams that have been practicing that play overseas or whatever, but they all launched into it today around the country.
Yep.
How much of a breath of fresh air will it be when you cover a game?
I tell you, yesterday on Tuesday, I don't live too terribly far away from the University of Tennessee campus. And I knew Josh Heupel was going to speak, and I was very curious about what he would say about the NCAA and the Arian Carter situation. So I decided to make that drive over, and I tell you, I was like, okay, football's back. And pads are popping today all across the country, and they have been for about a week, but the majority of teams are getting going, and it feels good. The last 3 years off seasons have been just a whirlwind. Like it has involved, and really I could go back 5 years if I wanted to, from the Jimbo Fisher, Nick Saban spat that happened over NIL. But I really think the offseason has taken a toll on what college football specifically has been about, because since then we've either been in courtrooms, Capitol Hill. We've either had discussions on what the House settlement was going to look like. So, like, the off-season narratives that we have seen over the last 5 years, my brother, has been nothing really regarding football. Like, spring practice has been an afterthought. And mind you, I get it. Like, spring practice is losing its luster because of everything that happens in the portal and whatnot. And I know they eliminated the spring period, but I'm just saying in general, it's more about getting to know your players who you might only have for a year. But I think that it'll be very good for the country as a whole to just have football back. And if you're an NFL fan, that means I'm talking to you too. But I think this has just been a long off season of nonsense. And, I'd be lying to you if I told you that, I really love writing political pieces all the time. And I love writing about court cases. But here's the thing. The NCAA created this. They could have saved themselves when it comes to this new 5-and-5 rule. Like, if they'd have just grandfathered in the 2022 class, we wouldn't be in this spot where every player that's filing a lawsuit is essentially winning. And we wouldn't have a problem where a district court judge in Colorado is handing out a blanket waiver through an injunction that allows teams to go now add these other players that participated last season that still have eligibility. And by the way, I might add, I don't blame the teams one bit, but in talking with coaches and GMs and staffers across college athletics, basketball, football, and whatnot, they're trying to figure out how to make this work with a roster. Like, I give Kurt Zignetti some credit. Like, he pulled the trigger, went out and got Stephen Daly, who's going to be a force along the defensive line. But see, the questions are, what happens if the NCAA wins on appeal? That players, Stephen Daly and anybody else that's added, they're done.
Yeah, and if they are on a roster, and let's say they played 2 games, and then the NCAA wins an appeal, can it be retribution where you forfeit a game where that guy played, or can they go back like that? I don't know how the law would.
According to the ruling, when the injunction was granted by Judge Sweeney last week, I'm getting all my days screwed up, but essentially they said you can't go back and punish these schools. So what would happen is the rules would go back into place, but I don't. And now this gets different depending on which court you're filing in. Federal court compared to state court. Like, where does it? So it is my understanding that, let's just use Indiana, for example. Indiana added a player yesterday. He's going to be forced on the defensive line.
Yep.
It is my understanding that if the NCAA wins on appeal, in this case is put to an end, essentially, it would go further than that. But put to an end, essentially, they can't go back and punish Indiana and say, hey, we're taking 2 of your wins away because you played an ineligible player. It would just go back to that player is ineligible. He can't participate the rest of the season.
God, it just like the fluctuation of the roster. I've seen some coaches say they don't want to touch anybody because they feel like it even might change in the next 5 to 10 days. And then some that said, yeah, let's take advantage of it if we can, or while we can.
And why not? Like, look, if you've got a roster spot and you've got athletes that are in shape that can come play, like the line in the sand is, if you try to bring back somebody that might be in like an NFL camp right now, but knows they're not going to get signed, or they're going to be on a practice squad, or they went undrafted, and they're just floating around right now and tryout after tryout, because essentially what would happen is it goes a little bit further than the Tennessee linebacker, Arian Carter,
right?
Because he took himself out of the NFL draft within 3.5 weeks. Like, you'd have players that were technically in the draft, didn't get drafted, but have maybe signed some type of undrafted free agent deal. Like, so that goes a whole nother level. So that's why I'm curious to see what the NCAA would try to do. But then I say all that to say this: they'll have a lawyer ready to go to file a suit, which I don't blame them, to potentially, any kind of ramifications from a punishment. So it's confusing. And I promise you, me and you are having this discussion right now, and there's a lot of folks listening. There are a lot of people around the country on college campuses that are just as confused.
Yeah, and I can't even imagine it, and I always appreciate your time, Trey, but so Friday evening, I finish up the podcast, Craig, we leave. He's going to go up to Dallas to see his my daughter, Jennifer, and Daniel's granddaughter, and I'm going to just chill.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to have Twitter up on my laptop. I'm just going to chill. I might watch something on Netflix. And my God. So what was it like for you? I did send Amanda Kristovich a text.
Yeah.
Happy Friday. I sent a couple of ADs. Hey, how's your night going? And it's just like, it's never ending.
So we had plans to go, I think we were going to see the Odyssey on Friday night. I finally had time. I was in town, me and the girl were going to go see Odyssey. And probably around 2:30, 3 o'clock that afternoon, I started having some conversations where I was like, okay, this could get interesting tonight. I don't want, and by the way, this has happened to me before, but I don't want to be in the movie theater and have to rush out to the car, turn the car on, connect my phone to the computer so I can have a hotspot to write an article about what was going on sitting in the Regal parking lot. Like, I didn't want to have to do that again. So we changed plans. I knew it was coming. I knew they were going to take a vote on it at least. But yeah, it's been chaotic, and it's been like that now for months. I mean, I could say years, but for months pertaining to this case. And I will never complain about any of this, because this is what I chose to do for a living, and I love it. But at the same time, free time has to be configured around what else is going on in the sport, so it's one of those things. It's, my girl always jokes with me, I spent Thanksgiving in Starkville, Mississippi at a random church with a bunch of random citizens, because I was chasing the Lane Kiffin story that involved Ole Miss and then LSU afterwards. So obviously there's crazy things that happen. This in our business, but we just move with it.
Can they keep a coach from? There's a viewer, Bracket Cat, talked about every provision of the bill will have some sort of limited antitrust exemption provisions.
Correct.
But can they keep a coach? Can they tell a coach you're not allowed to? You mentioned that about a private institution, and or to tell a conference you cannot. I mean, you mentioned they're going to get there's going to be some lawsuits on this. How much of the limited antitrust exemption, which I've heard that they need that, or collective bargaining, whatever, how much of that really can maybe work?
You would be hard pressed. And this is my personal opinion here. In studying this and talking with people around Washington and around conferences, to tell a school, like, okay, would the federal government been able to go tell LSU last year, hey, you can't go hire Lane Kiffin right now. Sorry. It's against federal law to do that. And then, by the way, if we don't try to hold the federal law against you, we do have some antitrust exemption here to maybe help us out in a court of law. Like, so it's so, that's why the language was very awkward to me when I was reading that part, because you can't tell me. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to withhold public funding to LSU because they're going out and hiring a coach that's going to bring in hundreds of millions of dollars? Make it make sense. It doesn't. It really doesn't. Like, so, they say they're trying to protect the school that the coach would be leaving. But my big thing is, well, wait a minute. If a school can't go out, or a coach can't leave mid-season, then it should not be allowed for an institution to fire a coach mid-season. So, sorry, Penn State, you can't fire James Franklin right now. Or sorry, LSU, you can't fire Brian Kelly right now. You have to let him coach. It can go both ways here. I can make an argument for both. So that's where I think the confusion reigns in. I think at the same time, you're looking at it and wondering, how much control does the government, or would the government have, if something like this were to pass? That's why I think, personal opinion here, is that if it gets through the Senate, I think some changes are made on the House floor before it's actually voted into law.
Okay. Hey, man, thank you very much. Appreciate you all the time. Trey, I know hopefully you'll get a quiet weekend. I know it's just Wednesday. There's a lot more to come, but thank you very much for all of your knowledge and being a part of our show whenever you are. It's always a great segment. Thank you.
I appreciate you. Y'all keep doing a great job, and thank you for having me. Look forward to doing it again soon.
Trey Wallace, Fox, senior college football writer with us, and has been money in many, many ways, and we appreciate him. He and I will trade a DM on Twitter, a text message or two, and I appreciate him joining our show. All right. I have a segment here. Now, this could get a little bit complicated with graphics, and your pet cat again, who sent me his Super League formula, and I just sent him a note. He's like wanting for me to, and Craig's out today, but to get to it, it's complicated. I appreciate the homework. I've said this before, but I don't want to get to the part where it's so complicated and so many graphics that it's just like makes your head fry or your brain fry. And some of you, I know you lost a lot of brain cells in the 60s and 70s if you're old enough to have been back at that point, or maybe even lately. So I want to go to this as a topic, though. Teams in college football, we're going to break here. Teams in college football who are most likely to make the college football playoff. They list 31. It's a lot. And I can see that. For let's just say in the Big 12, you could say, okay, are there 5 teams? Whoever wins the conference, and there's always the debate about whether they'll ever get a second team in with it at 12. Are there 5 in the SEC? But there might be that 5 get in the Big 10. But how many are just outside of that? Like Texas is a good example. Last year, they didn't get in. They didn't make the cut. And by the way, a blue blood that was left out. Alabama, a year or two ago, left out. So it has happened, which I always wondered about that. But there's a list of 31 teams that are most likely to make the college football playoff. Now, only 12 can get in. So we'll come back and kind of show you that with what is listed and who's listed it and all that. At 5 o'clock today, Greg Wrubell, voice of BYU. All right, I want to show everybody, because I this is a day where I've kind of been able to clear the air on some things, although I don't know if your old man, Texas Tech Catman or whatever. This is what Bracket Cat sent me. Bracket Cat, you keep asking me about when am I going to do this, and it'll make your year. Well, we're going to do this. I had your number. You gave it to me last night. Now, this is here. Here we go. I want everyone to understand, and this is to not by any means, this is to tell you how much Bracket Cat put into this. There's one full page. Then you have all of this. This is like, for example, how you split out a super league or whatever. Then you have this. This is 3 pages. This is very much like your pet cat again had an essay to get his final exam or his master's degree or his doctorate. So it's very complicated. It's very long, but there's no way that we could ever just like do a segment like this and try to get all that in. But I have it here. So Bracket Cat, appreciate you for sending it to me. And now I've got to just figure out a way to digest it and make sure that it's not like so much that everyone's, like their eyes are blurry. We got a couple of super chats, Rez. Do you want to put them up? And I'll run through those. Sometimes we wait till the end of the show, but we got a few. This is from your pet cat again. Georgia Tech versus Georgia is called Clean Old-Fashioned Hate. This is response to the segment about rivalries. Your pet cat again, thank you very much. That's a great rivalry. I like what Brent Key does at Georgia Tech. I loved the team when they had Haynes King, but that's the way they're going to play no matter who their quarterback is. Just like Vanderbilt with Clark Lee. And so thank you for the super chat on that one. For those of you just now joining us today, I asked this question based on I saw this on Twitter, and I sometimes take things off of Twitter, and Craig's like, oh, dear God. But if, in fact, if you're on or in the chat, you can tweet me too at David Smoak, DavidSmoak. If your favorite college football, the one that you might have clothing, I don't wear jerseys. I'm not sure about grown men wearing jerseys or football team, a Cowboys or a college team. Well, a UT jersey. I'm not sure about that. But if your favorite, I think my contact's about to rip on the air. If your favorite college football team, whoever it is, has a number one and even a number 1A most hated rival, fierce, intense. We know about Utah, BYU, Auburn, Alabama, Texas, OU, that kind of thing. Is your favorite college football team winning a big game, not winning a non-conference game that they're supposed to win, but winning a big game, but not against your number one rival? Is your favorite college football team winning a big game, and on the same day, your number one most intense, heated, hated rival loses? Is that better than sex? I didn't make this up. This is a tweet that I saw from Kyle Umlang, who's a huge Texas fan. He goes after A&M, obviously a huge rival, even though Texas leads that rivalry a bunch. But he kind of takes some shots at them. He's got a lot of evidence to back it up, too. But he asked that question on Twitter. I said, I think that here it is. Yeah, sex is great and all, but have you ever had your college football team win a big game and then watch both of your rivals lose miserably later that same day? And in the case of Texas, it would be them winning a big game, an SEC game or a game against Ohio State, week 2, and then seeing Oklahoma and A&M lose that same day. I mentioned that for the longest time, Nebraska, OU, the Big 8, when they moved to the Big 12, of course, they were split up, which is just so freaking stupid. But when they were in the Big 8, if Nebraska beat or won a game against number 9 UCLA or won a game against Washington, it was 15th, or won a game against Penn State or whoever it might be, and on that same day Oklahoma lost to somebody, yeah, that made for a pretty good day. It lasts for one day, but it's a pretty good day. Is that better than sex? I don't know. I don't know about that. Bracket Cat, I don't feel comfortable answering this question, Smokey. Now, some of you, maybe your low T's like dropped. Maybe you just, it's not opportunity anymore for you. You be honest about it. Let's see here. I don't feel comfortable answering that question, Smokey. Bracket Cat. You're usually pretty opinionated, but I guess not on this one. All right. When we come back, 31 programs, and you probably can list about 22 of them, 31 programs who are most likely to make the college football playoff. There are 12 of those spots available. 31 are most likely. There's some percentages. There's a couple of teams that are listed lower than their percentage, and I got to get into that. We'll do that next. This is 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. Marco's Pizza, the fastest growing pizza brand in America. 5 locations here in Waco and owned by Bob Mock. Good friend of mine, a guy's I've learned a lot from him, his business acumen. With me now having a corporation, I've asked him questions. And the way he was able to explain it to me about, like, even just keeping up with everything, how cool it was. But also, by the way, Marco's Pizza, pizza lovers, get it, marcos.com. You can go online, all sorts of great specials. It could be a medium 2-topping pizza for whatever. It could be the pepperoni magnifico, which is pepperoni. You can't see anything but pepperoni. It could be the pepperoni and Italian sausage magnifico, which means it's just stacked on top of it. I love thin crust pizza. Every once in a while I buy those shells that are like the made pizza shells, and I always get the thin crust. I'm not one of those where it's going to be all thick and chew. I like it thin, but whatever pizza you like, whether it's thick, thin, chewy, whatever, they have that available for you. Marco's Pizza. Marco's Pizza, fastest growing pizza brand in America. Marcos.com. Pizza lovers get it.
It's in the major leagues for 24 years. And let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
Celebrate American value and American quality during the Red, White, and Blue sales event at Richard Car.
You want a Richard Car GMC? Get your Sierra now and save $13,000 or more on every truck in stock with trade-in. Save $14,000 on a 2026 GMC Sierra SLE Crew Cab. Or save $13,500 on a 2026 GMC Sierra Pro, now under $29,000.
Drive American quality and get American savings during the Red, White, and Blue sales event at Richard Car.
Richard Car, they have the truck for you.
Pepperoni Magnifico. Pepperoni Magnifico. Marco's Pepperoni Magnifico. Classic and crispy cut pepperoni, 3 melty cheeses, all on our fresh made dough. And starting at just $12.99 for a large, it's no wonder Marco's was named America's favorite pizza chain.
This 4 o'clock hour is brought to you by Stonewood Dental, your one-stop shop for your dental needs, specializing in teeth cleaning, fillings, crowns, sealants, root canals, IV sedation, extractions, implants, bridges, dentures, full mouth restorations, and bioaesthetic dentistry. Our priority is your comfort from the moment you walk through the front door. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas. It's time for the Smoak Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoak and David Craig.
Craig out today, had dental work, and so he's back tomorrow. Hey, next Tuesday, I have lined up an interview, a segment, with John Gordon, Jon Gordon. He's a guy that has affected a lot of coaches. I know that a lot of NFL coaches have brought him in about leadership and culture and much more, written a bunch of books. And I saw him make a comment responding to somebody on Twitter and that he would like to join their show. You know what I did? I had to look around a little bit. I found a contact page, sent it to John Gordon's business, and said, hey, I may not be this guy, but I'd like to get you on the show. Now, most of the time you wonder about those like contact pages. Does anyone ever really read them? And I got an email back like immediately the next day. So John Gordon, if you've never heard of him, Jon Gordon, and he's going to be a part of the show next Tuesday about culture, leadership, inspiration, all of that. Just if you've heard of him, Google it, like Kirk Signetti. See you, Garrett. Good to see you. Oh, by the way, while Garrett is leaving, which he gets tired of the show and leaves every day about the same time, he just gets fed up with it. Houston Hall, an intern from the University of North Texas. His last day was with us today as far as his internship, headed back to Denton, back to school. He was fantastic. So Houston said he enjoyed his time working with us. And so I will believe him because I think he learned quite a bit and really was very helpful to Rez and much more every day. Now, ESPN research. There are 28 teams in college football with at least a 10% chance to reach the playoff this season. One notable difference in the 12-team format this fall is that each, if you did not know about this, or you forgot the day we did this, every Power 4 conference champion is guaranteed a spot in the field. Remember last year, the ACC, Duke, they didn't get in. Miami did, and they validated that by getting to the championship game. So each Power 4 conference champion is guaranteed a spot in the field. If Notre Dame is inside the college football standings, top 12, they're in. So who else is most likely to make the college football playoff? Here is the list of the teams. We will start with numbers 1 through 5. Texas, 69.9% most likely that they're going to make the playoff, and then 13.2% chance they're going to the national title, which I think is second overall. Because right behind them, Ohio State, and they play each other, has a 75.7% most likely to make the playoff. I think everyone would take that and agree with that. And a 17% chance to win the national title. They're going to be in the mix. And the winner of that game week 2, they launch themselves to that's going to be one they can use on their resume until they can't. Notre Dame is third. You start to see the number on the right, it's the second number. The chance to win a national title is 9.2% for Oregon, 9.6% for Georgia. Now go to page 2. Thank you, Rez, for putting all this together. Indiana, 57% chance they'll make the playoff, but 6.6% that they'll win it. Miami, just a little bit lower, who they played in the championship game. Ole Miss playoff, 22.8%. To win it, 1.3%. A&M, last year, lost that opening game at home to Miami. 39.1% chance they'll make the playoff, but only 3.4% that they win the national title. I wish my team had a percent. LSU, 39.7, win the national title, 3.5. The third page. USC. Now, again, the numbers to win it all become very small. However, USC, you have Oklahoma, you have BYU, 25.7% chance to make it. Texas Tech, twice that much, plus more, at 57.9%. And a 3.7% chance to win the national title. They, of course, want to just win the conference again, get in the playoff again, and hopefully play better again and maybe win that game. Michigan, 23.2% chance. A fourth page, Penn State at 16. Last year, remember, they were ranked number 2 in the AP preseason poll. They did not. It was a nightmare. That's why Matt Campbell's there and James Franklin's at Virginia Tech. Alabama, pretty high chance to make the playoff, but not really for the national title. Then you have SMU in Washington, and look at number 20, Arizona. Next page, Iowa. You hear what Nettie said about Iowa last week at the Big Ten Media Days, that Iowa was they're good. And they can be dangerous, and especially when they play at home, but they also can lull you into that kind of a game that they play. And next thing you know, you're scratching and clawing to try to get out of it. Not the game, but winning the game. Houston, now a 0.1% chance to win the national title. I haven't heard anyone talking about that, but making the playoffs just under 8%. Louisville, remember, they were not ranked yesterday in the coaches poll. Utah, 24. UNLV with Dan Mullen. They've done a hell of a job there. He's done a hell of a job there. Barry Odom did a good job there. Now at Purdue, no chance to win the national title according to the percentages, but an 8% chance of making the playoff. There are 6 more teams here on the list. Tennessee, General Ursus, where are you? 20.5% chance to make the playoff. That's pretty good. TCU, not very good, but they're on the list. Boise State, 11% to make the playoff, but not to win the national title. Clemson, South Carolina, last year, one of everybody's got all they got all fuzzied up over South Carolina. Did not work out. Maybe Beamer and company have a much better year, or split the difference between 24 and also what they did in 25 with 26. Virginia Tech and James Franklin make the playoffs 7.3%, but win the national title at 0.1%. There is, just to be a part of this doesn't mean anything as far as what will happen, but just kind of them crunching numbers together. I don't really look at these too much, but I think these lists, we're almost out of these lists, right? We're about done with them, the out of season or off season type of list. Let's see here. Paxton. I'll tell you what, y'all really need to bet on California making the playoffs. Now, you may go, what in Paxton? They got that quarterback. That guy's done a hell of a job at Cal. Craig can say his name. The coach has done a really good job. They now seem like they're taking, I'm not saying that they didn't take college football serious, but they seem like they've turned Ron Rivera being the head of it, the general manager or whatever you want to call it, has made a difference. It's made a difference. And then General Ursus, I knew that Tennessee would be on this list. They're always going to be on the list. They're going to be in the top 25 preseason poll. They're going to be a part of a team that, that they've got skins on the wall. Let's see here. Where's what blanket made a comment today? Smokey. Yeah, I would put Cal long shot odds that they'll make the playoffs. Stud quarterback and also some talent. No, I agree with you. I don't know about making the playoffs, but who knows? I would put long shot. He said it again, like 2 or 3 times. Smoke, you don't have anything to balance when you only have 10 players. Talking about the basketball roster, Texas Tech found out that a player was going to get an extra year. I saw that note for a lot of different teams. And I mentioned there's a local kid here in Waco from Midway High School who is going to get an extra year. He was at Baylor last year. He's going to get an extra year. I have been told by coaches, basketball coaches, those involved in basketball programs, that this extra year of eligibility, you might get you might get some honey out of that. But it's also for the coaches and those who are trying to put together the roster, it's like, okay, a guy's coming back who has an extra year, at least for now, of eligibility. He's a pretty good player, but he's got to go back to his original team. But he wants a couple of $1 million. He's not that good. Okay, that's an easy decision. But let's say it's $500,000 or $750,000 or maybe $300,000. That all has to be like, you have to kind of take your roster again and kind of change it up. And I hope that this doesn't happen. I know it's a dog-eat-dog world. I know you have to put together the best roster you have. But you know that basketball rosters, teams, players, have been grinding in the offseason most of the time on campus since the first week in June, competing their asses off to try to get better, to try to make sure that they get the coach's attention. And there's how many that are on? 12, 13, 15 of them? And they have a good offseason. The coach kind of feels like he's got his roster set. And then all of a sudden, Felipe Alou, a former baseball player, Moises and Maddie, they're all good baseball players, brothers. But let's say Felipe Clemente Alou, all of a sudden has an extra year of eligibility, and he was at Arkansas last year. Now, Arkansas was John Calipari. What do you do? What if he's okay? What if he's better than 2 to 3, 4 guys at the end of your roster, but those guys probably weren't going to play anyway? What do you do? And I have been told even this week when I've just reached out and said, okay, this is great. You're going to get an extra play. A player has an extra year, but do you have room for him? And do you even want him? Can you afford him? So that is what's going on right now with these extra players. Getting an extra year of eligibility. All right, when we come back, he's the voice of BYU Athletics. He is Greg Wrubell. And yes, when you look at the predictions in the Big 12, it's going to be another Texas Tech BYU rematch. What has BYU gotten better at other than players having more experience, an extra year under their belt? Or where are a couple of places where they have not been able to get what they need to replace who was there? We will talk to Greg Wrubell about that and much more. Michelangelo Flores running the mothership today. Andrew Valais putting together the ending of our show. And also, thanks again to Garrett for helping with the start of the show. And he will put up a lot of different segments for 365 Sports Tonight on the local CW channel. 4 segments every night that we have. Then he'll put them up on that show at 10:30. And then also for putting other things up. The other day, I'm sitting there and I get this. I don't even know. I'm never on Facebook. I have a Facebook page, but I'm never on Facebook. But I had this like text or alert, maybe email about something. And it was a reel of videos, like they're short videos, not very long. And one of them had nothing to do with anything I know of. But then I had it up, and then all of a sudden there's 2 or 3 or 4 in a row that is of what we have, interviews like Alex Golish when we had him on from Auburn or whatever. And I didn't even know that existed. I knew we had short videos, but I didn't really know. But that's something where we have extra content that gets up, and hopefully you get to digest it when you possibly can as well. So there we are with the shorts. We have shorts from the interviews like the one we're about to do with Greg. We'll have that. There'll be certain clips, snippets of that interview that we'll have with Greg. And that'll be up on not only Twitter, but also much more. Let me see here. On something Texas Tech. Let me see here. I'm just doing this I'm just kidding, Kim. Nothing's wrong. Everything's good. All right, when we come back, the voice of BYU, Greg Wrubell. Hey, the 2026 Jeep Gladiator Mojave on the lot at Allen Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Your choice right now, 0% financing for 36 months or save $10,000 off. Take off the top, hit the road, enjoy. Like there are some places I was driving in Utah, you take off the top, you're going to get blistered on the top of your head if you're not wearing a hat. But there were some places to have that Mojave driving around in some of those hills, and man, that would have been absolutely something else. They also have, of course, the Ram trucks. Always like it's at the top. The name Ram and truck, it gets honored, awarded, trophies all the time for what they have, whether it's the style, the luxury, the way it drives, the way it handles something rugged, the load that you could pop in the back of your pickup, whatever it might be, they have it. And of course, they have Jeep Cherokee, Grand Cherokee, the Jeep Wagoneer, fantastic SUVs. Ted T, the general manager and CEO, and they have discounts and incentives. And they also have a fantastic, there's a chunk of pre-owned cars with great mileage, not a lot of it, but great prices on them too. That's what I did back in 2017 with my Ford Explorer. It's David Gray handles the sales department. Allen Samuels wants to find the vehicle for you right now. Go by their lot, Loop 340 and east of 84 in Waco.
Many years ago, Bert Cogen Ford made a commitment. Not just to sell Fords, but to serve Waco. What began in 1936 wasn't a transaction. It was a partnership built through hard work, quality, and integrity. Mile by mile. For over 4 generations, Bert Cogen has been driven by Waco. Thank you for the road we've traveled together and the miles that lay ahead.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide. Affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
At Tarleton State University, we believe your education should fit your journey. Whether you're starting college or advancing your career, Tarleton State opens the door to what's next. A student-focused education is never far away. Don't change your life to earn a degree. Earn a degree to change your life. Because wherever life takes you, Tarleton State goes with you. Become a Texan today. Visit tarleton.edu.
From the TFNB Your Bank for Life studio. Now, it's time for the Smoke Show. Presented by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. It's time for the Smoke Show on 365 Sports with David Smoak and Craig Smoak.
Again, Craig is out today. Dental work back tomorrow with us, and we appreciate your time. And we always appreciate Greg Wrubell, voice of BYU Athletics. He joins us on 365 Sports. Football practices all over the country. Some had been on the field for a little bit, and a lot of people starting today. And Greg, BYU, the expectations are good, and it's deserved because of what Kalani Sitake and BYU football has done. What do you think is the ceiling, and what do you think would be the minimum requirement?
Ceiling would be a playoff berth, and minimum requirement playing in the postseason somewhere. I think that's where Kalani's at. The progression to the Big 12 has been pretty smooth. The first year, they had a crack at getting to the postseason, lost their last two games to Oklahoma and Oklahoma State in heartbreaking fashion. So year one of Big 12, no postseason. Year two, a big leap, tied for the best regular season record, did not make the Big 12 title game. Year three, make the Big 12 title game, don't win it. Year four, let's see. The natural progression would say they get over the hump and get their first ever auto bid to the playoff, but that's in a perfect world. But that's what the motivation is right now, is to not just get to Arlington, but find a way to get over the hump and do what they could not do last year. Last year was such a great year, Smokey, in a lot of ways. Only two losses, but two losses to the wrong team at the wrong time. Texas Tech, a top 10 Texas Tech team twice. And unfortunately, neither game was very competitive. And that's ultimately what did the Cougars in. According to the committee, the way they saw it, they saw two non-competitive games, 29-7, 34-7, and said BYU doesn't belong. A little harsh, perhaps, but the Cougs did not play very well when they had to play well. Now, injuries were a factor. L.J. Martin was banged up coming into the first Texas Tech game. So was their best defensive player, Jack Kelly. It had an impact. Wasn't the story, but a story. Then in the second game in Arlington, Bear Bachmeier gets hurt on the touchdown drive that gives BYU the 7-0 lead. He wasn't right the rest of the way. They don't score the rest of the way, get drummed out of the building in the second half, and we saw that BYU got snubbed for the playoffs. So, again, step by step, hopefully this is the year they get over the hump, but we'll see how it all transpires.
Yeah, and I remember when BYU, the year before they joined the conference, played a game here in Waco, and the crowd was great and got to know Kalani, you, and others. But they even admitted we're not quite ready, and they got beat that day. But it's been a slow process. How much, the Penn State job that came open, we had him on during Big 12 media days about what he really wanted to know, not just about what BYU was going to do, but about what others had, like the bells and whistles. And What was that like for 2 to 4 days when all of that was going on in Provo?
Yeah, strange timing, right? It was just before, the Big 12 title game, and one of the best jobs in the country comes open. We happen to think the BYU job's pretty good, but Penn State's Penn State, and you got to have a listen. And from a professional standpoint, a purely business standpoint, it was a good leverage decision to hear what they had to say. Because he was able to improve not just his own situation, and he really wanted to make clear it wasn't about necessarily improving his situation, although it did end up improved. It was about improving the situation for staff, players, and program overall. To get a commitment of how much does BYU want the football program to play, act, perform, compete in every way like the top of the top tiers in college football. And Kalani got that indication, and Kalani got that reassurance. And it didn't take that much to get Kalani to want to stay, because his heart truly is at BYU. But he wanted to see some tangible commitments, because he was able to discover what else is out there relative to football commitment. And I think he felt comfortable with the commitment BYU was making to him, his players, his coaches, and the program. And I think you kind of needed to see that if you were Kalani Sitake before committing long-term or recommitting long-term, as was the case. It was a little bit interesting because, Kalani was seen as, the next Lavelle in a lot of ways, right? And very much Mr. BYU. And to have him entertaining another offer was probably a little shocking to some people. But again, from a professional standpoint, it was wise in terms of what he was able to generate relative to momentum moving forward from a resources and other standpoint.
Is there a better soul on earth than Kalani Sitake?
He's such a good man, and the right man for this program and for this fan base. The refrain is, and he says it all the time, I was a fan before I was a player, before I was a coach.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a BYU fan. He was one of the knothole kids that would drive the bikes to the stadium and try and get in after the game started, kind of thing. And then he became a player for Lavelle. And how poetic that Lavelle's last game was also Kalani's last game in the year 2000.
Mm-hmm.
And then for Kalani to begin his career that ultimately brings him back to BYU. And he joked when he got the job, we've talked about this, Smokey, about him kind of viewing himself as hopefully the Polynesian Lavelle. And there are a lot of similarities between the two men when it comes to their sense of warmth, their affability, their love for the fans, their love for family, their love for the players. He's truly an exceptional human being, and I couldn't be any luckier than I am to get to work with him as a broadcaster. And we've told that, I think we've talked about this too, Smokey. Like when he's around the other coaches, either in the league or in the country, it's more than just a fist bump or a back slap and a quick hello on the way past. It's a hug. It's a conversation. It's wanting to spend time with him because that's the kind of guy he is.
Yeah, no question. When that first phase of realignment occurred with BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF, I mean, there's Mark Daniels. There's just been good people. And then Kalani's one of them, no doubt. Willie Fritz, Houston, of course, a part of that too at some point. So this is year 4. Did you think they could be where they are now in this position this quickly? And I know it's 4 years, but this quickly.
Yeah, I mean, the groundwork was kind of being laid, right? Because they did have the flexibility, and we've chatted about this too, Smokey, about, when you mentioned the Baylor game, that was part of the ramp up, right? There they were scheduling teams like Baylor as an independent.
Right.
And not just 1 or 2 or 3, but 4, 5, 6, 7 P4 games in a given year. That gave BYU a really good preparatory runway to power conference football. Other G6s, weren't in the same situation. It wasn't as easy for them to get up to speed as I think it was for BYU. And it was a grind. And again, that first year was a losing record, although the bowl season was very close that year. But yeah, it was an introduction and an expansion of the belief that power conference football is a different deal. And I will say this, I was at a practice today, and in thoughts that were shared between myself and others, it was pretty plain to see the types of bodies that were running around on day 1 in year 4, as opposed to day 1 in year 1. or day one in the last couple of years of independence. And so it looks different, Smokey. It looks different. It is different. And you have to be different to compete at this level.
All right, so Bear Bachmeier was a phenomenal story. Wasn't even on campus that long. We know what happened because of the eligibility, losing your starting quarterback. And, he was good. He was really good. And he's got that blank in his neck, if you don't mind me kind of insinuating that. So why is he better this year? Is it because he's a year older, year experienced, or maybe something else?
Well, he wasn't just good. He was great. If you go back to the year 2000 as kind of a starting point, there's not been a true freshman quarterback who did what Bear Bachmeier did last year, which was pass for 3,000 and run for 500 plus yards in the same year as a true freshman. Some redshirts have done it, but no one from the year 2000 until last year had put up a 3,500 yard total offense season with 3,500, 3,000 passing, 500 rushing as a true freshman before Bear Bachmeier did it. So that's how special what he did was. And he did it after coming out of spring ball in a different program. He went through Stanford spring last year and then came to BYU. So, pick your cliche, drinking from a fire hose or what have you. That's what he kind of had in front of him last year to get up to speed with Aaron Roderick's offense. Never before at BYU, and the Cougs have a pretty decent quarterbacking history. Never before had a true freshman started a season opener at quarterback for BYU until Bear Bachmeier. So you throw all these things together, and I think what he did was pretty phenomenal. And so he was that good as a true freshman. How good can he be as a sophomore? We're about to find out. And some of the answer will depend on how quickly the running back and tight end rooms come together, because BYU brings back very few receiving yards from last year. Very few indeed. It's the gaping hole right now in the BYU offense. They expected Parker Kingston to be back. He's not back. They expected Cody Hagan to be back. He's not back. They've got to find wide receivers. I think they've got two pretty good tight end candidates in Roger Saliaponga from Oregon and Walker Lyons from USC. So those are pretty good tight ends, and they'll probably be 1-2 for sure. But the wide receiver room right now is wide open, and that's going to be a fun competition to watch. A name to remember is Legend Glasgow. Isaiah Glasgow, people know about. He's the fine senior linebacker. Little brother Legend, named Legend, is going to be given, I think, a look to jump up pretty quickly in this wide receiver room. So we'll see how that progresses. Just a name to think about there, and it's a memorable one in Legend Glasgow. But having said all that, the running back room, solid with L.J. Martin back and Sione Moa back from injury. And that O-line is really good. You could basically say 4 starters back from last year, with Paki Finau projected to be the starting left tackle. And he's a Washington transfer, and he's a good one too. So I think the pieces are there around Bear to give him a good shot to improve, if possible, on last year's very, very good numbers.
L.J. Martin's fantastic. Saw him at Big 12 Media Days. People look at his rushing yards, but he had 30-something catches. He was much more involved in the receiving game. So he's a dual threat guy in a way, if you say that, at running back. And having him healthy, and he's a banger. He could also pop it. I mean, he's not just a 4.4 yards per carry guy. He can give you the big play. And but I didn't realize he had caught as many passes till I checked that out earlier today. He can catch the football. Pro scouts have gotta love that.
And it requires a play caller to want to throw to the running back too, right? Which is part of it. But I think I've got that with Aaron Roderick. The one thing that he doesn't have yet is a full season. He's been injured in every year and has missed games in every year. And it's hard to play running back at the P4 level and be an every game guy. It is hard. But that would be the one thing I think, that he maybe hasn't done yet that he would aspire to do this year. He's got the body for it, but that position requires a lot of luck too. You end up in a lot of piles where things happen inadvertently that put you out for a week or two through no fault of your own. That'd be the one thing you hope if you're a BYU fan that they get out of LJ is a true workhorse season, because he's got everything else that requires you to be that kind of guy. It'll be nice though if Sione Moa is his backup. That will be a huge luxury they didn't have for last year because Sione missed almost the entire year with a terrible injury, but he's back now. And that's going to make a big difference for BYU because it was almost LJ having to do too much by himself last year. The help of Sione Moa will pay off handsomely if you can stick around and be active.
Yeah, he had 236 carries, 100 basically as much as he had any other year prior to that. My one more thing, Greg, maybe one or two. I look at their depth chart. Again, this is not the official depth chart, but this is one from an outlet that I've always been able to trust for years. And every team in college football, you look and there's a bunch of the transfers are in orange. But when you look at BYU, there's a handful. It's not 20, 22, 30. It's maybe 10. I don't even know. It looks like 8 to 10. How much is that because of the trust they had? How much of that is the BYU kind of like who they are? And how much of that is they just needed to fill some positions in depth?
Yeah, it speaks to Kalani, first and foremost. His retention factor is really high. Very few guys exit BYU unhappy with how they've been treated, just to be straight up. They with Kalani in charge, people are happy to play for him and to be treated well by him. And so they have been able to kind of pick and choose positionally where they need an influx here or there. But even then, too, if they're going for a certain kind of guy, it's quite apparent. BYU is going to bring in somebody that can live a certain standard of life and of living and commit to an honor code that isn't for everybody. That's also a number two. That's also helps kind of narrow the focus and maybe make it so you're not having to bring in 20, 30, 40. The other fact is the success BYU's had. They're not having to rebuild. They're not having to start from scratch. The staff's, continuous. So they are able to be very selective in how they go out and do things. But it all starts with the fact that you don't have to fill a lot of spots if the spots aren't there. They graduate guys and they lose a very small number of guys who seek greener pastures because they think the pastures are pretty green at BYU, starting with Kalani.
Greg Wrubell with us, voice of BYU Athletics. I remember reading a note about you that back when I think the week that they played that game in Waco, weren't you born in Saskatchewan? Did you grow up as a hockey fan? Did you ever play hockey? Just like just a question that's outside of BYU Athletics. Did you play it? Do you love it? Do you still love it?
I played it. I loved it. I still love it. I was actually born in Sudbury, Ontario.
Okay.
But as a baby, we moved to Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. And my dad was the public address announcer for the Saskatoon Blades hockey team.
No kidding.
The Saskatoon Blades still exist. They play in the Western Hockey League. They have a new arena now, but I was in the old arena with my dad in his announcer booth watching him do his thing when I was a very small boy. And I played at the time, and we all did, of course. And we moved to Calgary, Alberta, for high school. And so I'm still a huge Calgary Flames fan. I got to move to an NHL city, which was huge for me. And I still watch all the Flames games, and they're in a rebuilding mode right now. It's taking some time, but I'm a huge Flames fan, huge hockey fan in general. Happy now that Utah's got a team, the Utah Mammoth.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was able to actually go to a Mammoth Flames game this past year. What a dream that was to see my team in my new home.
Right.
But love hockey, Smokey, and I did come down from Canada. My freshman year at BYU as a student was 1984. And that was the year that BYU won the national championship. And the first home game they played that year was against Baylor. My first experience as a BYU fan in the stands was at the Baylor game.
That's one of those. There was a couple of those games. There's one of those that BYU came to Waco and it was like some crazy shootout.
With Steve Young the year before.
Yes, Young went nuts. Yeah, went nuts. You're also someone that young aspiring journalists or broadcasters need to read your story. I went to Stephen F. Austin my junior and senior year. They had a campus radio station. And the only reason I learned about that, if you don't mind, is that I did not do well on my first test as my junior in a broadcasting course. And I went to the professor and said, none of these questions were what you taught us the first 4 weeks of the year. Well, I kind of was opinionated. Imagine that. And he looked at me. He goes, well, if you'd stop bringing sports magazines to class and reading them during class, maybe you would hear what I am discussing. But then he asked me if I'd want to get involved in the campus radio station, which thank God nobody could hear. But I did it. I went through the motions. You did that. And then you began at KSL as an intern. And look, you're now the voice of BYU. And there are more internship opportunities available now than ever before than when I was in school back in the in 81 when I graduated. And how cool is that you started the internship and now what you're doing at BYU?
Yeah, I still remember seeing the posting for the internship on the bulletin board right outside the campus TV and radio station offices, and it was non-paid. And in fact, I actually had to pay money to do it because I was taking the bus from Provo to Salt Lake just to get to KSL. So I was spending money on the internship, not getting money. That's why I tell kids, if you can get a paid internship, that's great. And most of them, I think nowadays probably are paid. But if your only pay is experience, don't turn your nose at that. The experience I got and learning from who I got to learn from, the late, great Chris Tunis at KSL back in the day, even as a non-paid intern, paid huge dividends down the line because, once I went back to school after the internship, KSL called me and said, hey, we really liked what you brought to the newsroom as a sports intern. Would you like to apply for a news job? We have a part-time radio news opening. And even though I wanted to be a sportscaster, I wanted to get in the door however I could. And so I said, you bet. And so I became the weekend radio news reporter and anchor at KSL Radio while I was still a student at BYU. And that kind of got me in the door. KSL had the broadcast rights for BYU. And a couple of years down the line, an opening happened on the sideline, or the football radio crew for the sideline guy. I got that. And then 9 years after sideline work, I got the play-by-play opening, and kind of the rest is history. But it all began with that non-paid internship that really opened the door for me. And so, that was a huge part of my history, and I'm grateful that I did it.
Well, I'm glad. It's a great story. I was in St. George, Utah, Greg, 2 weekends ago. Flew into Vegas, two buddies of mine on a golf trip to St. George, Utah. Some spectacular golf, but just the views, and that's not even near Salt Lake City or Provo, but it was something I wish just because, let's say someone's never been out there. The views, a lot of that area in Utah, Wyoming, Montana, whatever, Colorado. I had the best damn golf trip. I've been on some good ones, but I had the greatest relaxing 5 days that I've experienced in a long, long time.
Well, I know you used a lot of sunscreen because it's probably 115 degrees for you when you were down there. But Utah has the greatest variety of topography and climate. And there's a reason there's multiple national parks in Utah. I love the state. Again, I was a Canadian born and raised, but Utah's been my home for a great deal of my life, majority of my life. And I love when people come to Utah and leave with the experiences like you had, because whether it's natural beauty, variety, the people themselves, the sports passion that they have for the college game, for example, I think Utah is a great state, and I'm glad that we're part of the Big 12 to allow more people from around the country to come experience everything that is Provo and Utah. I think it's a great marriage between the city, the state, the conference, and getting to meet people like yourself and have these connections with schools around the country is a huge blessing.
It's been great, as I mentioned, to get to know you and others and Kalani and just what BYU represents too. Thank you, buddy. I had a great time on the southern part of Utah. I think it's Zion County. I'm not sure whatever it is. The mountain ranges are awe-inspiring. And I know there's others, but thank you, man. Good to see you, Greg. I'll see you soon.
Anytime, folks. Appreciate it.
Greg Wrubell, voice of BYU Athletics, with us on the Cougars on 365 Sports. Grez, let's go straight to Super Chats that we didn't get to earlier. By the way, somebody asked me, Craig's back tomorrow. I think we got to check with old man Texas Tech, whatever, see if Craig's off probation. No, he's back tomorrow. Kim Coulter, there's a perfect timing. The Dragon is our hero. Absolutely, he's mine too. All right, another one from Kim Coulter. Jamichael Stillwell just got granted his injunction, so he's officially playing at Tech this next season. Booyah. That's part of that 5 for 5 being eligible if you're a part of the class of 2022. And there's other players that have eligibility cases elsewhere. I mentioned that Baylor, Caden Powell, who played high school ball here in Waco, he was granted an extra year. That came out today too. So there are the Super Chats. So thank you very much. We appreciate that very, very much. Let's spin the wheel. Wow. if your current life, see, Craig's good at this, and I told Andrew that of all of what we do at the end, the polls, the quizzes, they're all good too. But I like this. I really have enjoyed the wheel because I don't know what we're going to be talking about. If your current life were a movie, and I'm going to put this in the chat too for you if you want to quickly answer it by tagging my name so I'll see it, just 2 or 3 of you. Who would you want playing the lead role in your life? They don't need to look like you, thank God. I've been told that Woody Harrelson is my lookalike, although I think I have more hair than him, and I don't have much. If your current life were a movie, who would you want playing you in the lead role? Well, it'd be a little bit. I would like Denzel Washington to play the lead role, but then it would be different, right? God, I love his acting. Who would I want it to be? Well, he's gone, Val Kilmer. A lot of guys that I want are gone. But Denzel can't play my lead role because it wouldn't be my life. Although I think he's the greatest actor I've ever seen. Gene Hackman's gone too, isn't he, Rez? I think he's gone. Some of the ones, let me look at the chat. And we're going to get Rez's, I got to show you a new little toy we have with Rez. Let's see. Black Rain, Michael Douglas. The movie Black Rain, Paxton said Michael Douglas. Firefighter, Sam Elliott. I just remembered Peter North. Zion Canyon is awesome, Kim. You're exactly right. It is phenomenal. St. George is beautiful. Roger the Dodger, you're right. Oh, I was thinking about Tommy Lee Jones. Who's the one that's playing the role in The Landman? I have gotten to know. He's an unbelievable guy. Who help me out? Who's the lead actor in Landman? Nobody's putting it up there. Hold on, let me look. It's so impressive that I can't remember his name, but I'm terrible with names. I, first of all, love the series. I can't wait for it to be back. Where is it? Who the hell is it? I can't hear you. Billy Bob Thornton. I just love the guy. I listened to him on a podcast coming back from Dallas about a month ago on the way up there to see my granddaughter, Jennifer and Daniel, and on the way back, and he was on with Joe Rogan. It was freaking amazing. He is incredible. Billy Bob Thornton is who I would want to play the lead in any kind of movie about me. I think Kim said he would want Amy Garcia to play his role. Now you got to get Sophie Cunningham involved, the WNBA involved. Can we do that? Is that allowed? All right. Now, let's go to the quizzes today. On this day, 1921, KDKA broadcasts the first live Major League Baseball game. Which historic park with an active flagpole in deep center field was the one that hosted the milestone? I think it's Forbes Field. God. Yeah, it's Forbes Field. It's Pittsburgh. Forbes Field. On August 5th, 1921. By the way, yesterday was the birthday of my father. He passed away in 2015. God, he was an amazing man. I just wanted to throw that in there. I didn't say that yesterday. I text my brothers down in Florida. God, I miss him. KDKA announcer Harold Arlen sat in a ground-level box seat at Pittsburgh's Forbes Field with a converted telephone transmitter to deliver the world's first ever live Major League Baseball radio broadcast. It forever changed how fans experience sports, laying the foundation for modern play-by-play, turning regional ball clubs into national brands. I have done some games with a cell phone, duct tape to a headset like this because something wasn't working or Had to do it on the old box phone, a broadcast, a junior college basketball game in Carthage, Texas for Panola College against Tyler Junior College. So I've done them in a lot of different places. Forbes Field. I think what helped me there was I knew KDKA was from the Pittsburgh area, but I had to kind of, so there we are. Only 17% got that right. Quiz number 2. August the 5th, 2013, Major League Baseball issued an initial 211 game suspension following the biogenesis scandal. Which superstar slugger received his historic ban? It was Alex Rodriguez. Because Ryan Braun, good player, was not a superstar. Manny Ramirez is a superstar. Roger Clemens is a superstar. Alex Rodriguez is a superstar. And I may be dead wrong on this one. I think it was A-Rod. And Rez, am I right? Damn, I went 2-0 without Craig. Baseball issued 13 simultaneous suspensions, the largest single-day disciplinary sweep since the 1919 Black Sox scandal. We talked about that earlier this week. While 12 players accepted 50-game bans, A-Rod received an unprecedented 211-game suspension for PED use, obstructing the investigation, later reduced to 162 games, which is what a regular season is, costing him the entire 2014 season. 47% of you got that right. I went 2-0 today. Now let's get to the poll results for you and what you said today. Are the Dodgers ruining baseball by stacking another superstar? 68% said yes. I made this comment, I think, with Craig yesterday with Off the Radar. 32% no, just run better. The Dodgers made the trade for Skubal, who got beat last night. He didn't get enough run support. They lost, I think, 5-1. He went 6 innings, gave up a couple of runs. The Dodgers gave up some young talent in their system, but they didn't get the 4 best players in the Dodgers system. And you mean to tell me that nobody else, he's a free agent after this year, so you don't have to eat anything. Was there not another team in Major League Baseball that could have offered better young farm system talent to get Skubal? So why is that LA's fault? Yeah, they got a $500 million or whatever it is cap, but you look at the top 5 salary caps they pushed a lot of money into the future. They've done that too, which is going to be interesting to see if they ever have a shutdown or negotiations. Are they ever going to fix that? But I don't blame teams that win. No matter how they win, that's like saying, we have people who don't like the way some teams in college football have all of a sudden joined the fray. It was okay before then, but is it destroying baseball? Parity? There's been other teams along the way in baseball history that have had dynasties. The Dodgers are having theirs right now. There's no guarantee they win the World Series, even though they just did, obviously, with that roster. That's my opinion, but 68% of you disagree with me. Another poll question. Out of these new starting quarterbacks, who faces the biggest boom or bust factor for their team's playoff hopes? I said Josh Hoover. I think he's really good. He was good at TCU. I remember what he was like in high school. I like the young man, but he's following a Heisman Trophy winner. Yes, he's going to be in Indiana's system with, who's the offensive coordinator who's got lineage. And then, of course, was Cignetti. I think there could be. Keelan Russell, he's going to be a freshman. Whatever he does, good. Whatever he doesn't do well, he's a freshman. Mensa, leaving Duke to come to Miami. Now Miami's become that school that kind of gets their rent a quarterback. Indiana's in that position too. I don't think Will Hammond's boom or bust. I think Will Hammond, if he's healthy, will be really good with that football team and has 3 running backs behind him that can carry the load too. I think it's Hoover. I hope he does well at Indiana. I really do. 33% of you said absolutely. You're not absolutely, because Hoover and Mensa at 33% and also 30%. Here we go. 901 votes. Andrew did a good job with that one, no doubt. All right. Gig 484. I think that means you're an A&M guy. Thank you for being a part of the chat. Texas Tech is so ass. I can't wait to watch them lose many games this year. Aggies are in the house. What is the definition, Gig 4? Is it 84? I think it is, or 94. What is your definition of mini games? What's mini games? They lost 2 last year. They lost to Arizona State, lost to Oregon. Got shut out by Oregon. What is the definition of mini games? 3? More? 4? We'll see what happens. But hey, Gig 484, appreciate you, A&M, in the house here on 365 Sports. Thank you, Rez. Michelangelo Flores, Garrett Ross, also Andrew Valade. Craig's back tomorrow. We have a good lineup tomorrow. Really good lineup tomorrow. Hopefully you enjoyed the lineup we had today. I'm David Smoak. Enjoy your Wednesday night. Good night on the Smoak Show in 365 Sports.